Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is when dreams come true. And I want to talk about how oftentimes when we find things going great in our lives and our dreams are coming true and coming into manifestation, one of the first reactions that a lot of people have is fear and also resistance. And I just want to talk about that dynamic and how we get to move beyond it and just flow with acceptance and enthusiasm into the new path that we've manifested. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating and electrifying all your molecules and all your electrons, lighting your cells up with vital, brilliant light. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together. Softly, softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation and bring yourselves present right here, right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a new week and it is the 4th of July holiday week. So we get to celebrate our independence, and independence exists on so many levels. And I guess today we're talking a little bit about freedom from fear. Good afternoon, Pat. Welcome, welcome. So good to have you here and start the week with you. A lot of folks in the US are celebrating today as part of the long holiday weekend for Independence Day. And I thought that this would be a really interesting topic because, well, it arose for me because I have had this vision of an eco park for quite some time now and have been collecting the people and the information that would be instrumental in its formation. And over the weekend, a very dear friend of mine reached out to me and suggested that there might be a possibility of funding this thing. And so I actually noticed, and I have to say I'm pleased to notice this in myself. I actually noticed that I didn't have any resistance to that idea, that I started immediately rising to to be able to address and receive that opportunity. However, it also brought to mind for me how frequently Hi, Hope. Welcome. We have two good afternooners here. So, two folks that are not in the US. How wonderful. Hi, Hope. It's so high hopes. I have high hopes. And hi, Pat. And welcome to folks from other continents. It's so good to have you here. Anyway, what I noticed was that I really was able to welcome this prospect. And in the past, there have been opportunities or things that arose when life was going really well and things were happening, according to my greatest dreams and visions. And when that would happen, there was a point at which I would say, it's too much, or how do I integrate this? Or do I deserve it? And I think that that's not an uncommon dynamic. Thankfully, it's not at play at this point. Like right now, thankfully, there's great alignment and readiness, and the willingness to develop more readiness as well. But I think that it's not uncommon that when the universe responds to our desires, sometimes we throw on the brakes, and we have fear and resistance. And I think that's such an interesting dynamic, uh, and issues around worthiness. And so I think it's so interesting to notice, that when our dreams start coming true, there's there's this weird response to the bounty and the responsiveness of the universe, right? Like that, I know that there have been times in my life where things just started moving and were like everything I could have wanted, and I just had gotten scared and kind of threw on the brakes, and like, oh, it's too much, like too much amazingness. And what is it in us that allow that we get so acclimated to struggle and challenge, that when things are flowing, and opportunities are just abounding, what is it that generates that resistance or fear? And so, excuse me, lots of energy moving. um, I think I think for me, what I can recognize is that when those dreams start coming true, what the call is for us to rise. And what does that mean? I think there needs to be a willingness to step out of the boxes that we define ourselves with. And so, as these things are occurring, it means, oh, I need to step up and step in and embrace this. I need to rise to my fuller expression. What's the demand going to be on me? What's the responsibility? What's the new way of being that I'm being called to in order to facilitate this transformation, and or to ride the transformation even? So when we have these big visions and big dreams, what comes along with it is a redefinition of self. And what I notice in clients with regularity, with some predictable consistency, is that when called to reinvent ourselves, we often respond with fear and resistance. And good morning, Clarissa. So wonderful to have you here. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you. Um, yeah, so we respond with fear and resistance because it means a redefinition of ourselves. It means stepping into the unfamiliar. And so one of the things that I think that we can do to best prepare ourselves for the unknown, or to, better yet, sorry, one of the best things that we can do to prepare ourselves to step into our greatness is to be developing a willingness to step into the unknown, and the excitement and enthusiasm and possibility of that, rather than having it falling prey to anxiety and fear and trepidation about the unknown. And so when I think that this is a practice that we can develop, is to be transforming anxiety into enthusiasm, anxiety into excitement, because the sensation, the experience of excitement and anxiety are not terribly different. Like we can be so excited, our hearts racing, and there's all this energy. And that's very much the case with anxiety. And so, what if we start practicing our excitement muscles, and in facing the unknown possibility, as instead of something fearful, as an adventure, and as, like, buckle up baby, we're on for a ride here, it's going to be epic, and let's rock it into the unknown and embrace it and enjoy the ride. And it's interesting to hear myself saying that, because, like, I'm not a roller coaster person. And I know lots of people love roller coasters, and the thrill of, like, rocketing down that hill. I'm not a big roller coaster person, but when it comes to the adventures of life, and embracing the magic of possibility and stepping into unknown territory of who I am and who I can be, what's possible, I am finding that tremendously exciting. And as I'm saying that, I recognize that I'm also venturing into parts unknown in other dimensions of consciousness. And in those arenas, I'm seeing that perhaps I have more resistance than I would like to admit. That maybe there is more fear or trepidation around that than I would like to admit. In terms of, it's not a conscious fear, because I really have a more conscious excitement about exploring these realms of being and consciousness. And I am observing that it seems that there's is a part of me that is more, shall we say, more cautious, maybe, um, in venturing forth into those realms, and maybe even somewhat fearful, although it's not, as I said, it's not a conscious experience of fear. It's, consciously, there's more of a longing and desire to be able to explore these beyonds. But there is a part of me that is holding back on that. I think. I mean, I know that because I can testify to the fact that I haven't had those experiences. So I'm believing that there's a part of me that's holding me back from that. Good morning, Elaine. Happy 4th of July weekend. And to you, to everybody, whether you celebrate it or not. Anyway, we're talking about when dreams come true and how we might have a reaction of bracing ourselves, like taking that breath, like every time I do that, Maggie flies. So she gets the energy of that. It's like a holding, and rather than a whoa, like rather than an embracing. And so there's a huge possibility that just arose in my life. Who knows where it'll go? But the the um, the scope of it is moving me into the possibility, moving me deeper and deeper into the possibility of my deepest vision and dreams. And I am, as I said earlier, delighted to see that I'm embracing it rather than bracing from it. But I think that the bracing is something that is not in any way uncommon. And I don't, I think that it's typically related to fear of the unknown. And so where do we cultivate this fear of the unknown? Where does that come from? My thinking is that it comes in part from an expectation of the worst, and it's ironic that that expectation or that sense of lack of safety projects forward into a fear, where of the unknown. um, Whereas if we felt safe, the appearance of the unknown would maybe be one more rich with excitement and anticipation of wonderful opportunity and wonderful outcomes, versus I'm leaving the familiar, now what? Oh, that's terrifying. um whereas uh I'm sorry, just another memory came to mind from when I was in college. I was dating someone, and it was not it was not a good experience. It wasn't a good experience for either of us. And I also remember at that time, which was eons ago, thankfully, in both time and evolution, I remember thinking, well, at least this unhappiness is something I know. I at least, it's like the devil versus the devil you don't. And I don't, I'm not talking about literal devils here because I don't particularly give them credence. But what I'm saying is that there was in that at that time in my life, and I think that it's indicative, or it's not an uncommon place to be, staying in my discomfort was preferable in that moment to encountering the potential discomfort of something that I didn't know. And I knew I could deal with what I was dealing with, but I didn't know what the unknown would bring and if I'd be able to deal with that. And that's such a sad state of affairs, to be bounded by our miseries. And, I'm speaking of my own experience, how limiting that was, how limiting my perception was. It was coming completely from a place of scarcity and fear um, and a lack of perception or possibility around who I could be and what I could create and what might be available to me. And I think that we often get caught in those traps, and society in so many ways reinforces that kind of thinking. Is like safety first. It's a dangerous world, and safety often means conformity, and safety often means settling, for what we know, versus really taking a leap of faith into grander possibility. So uh, I, I I'm looking at what has made the transition for me such that in this particular circumstance, I'm receiving, I'm allowing that opportunity, or whatever opportunity may arise. I've been having uh, positive expectation that I've been cultivating. And part of that, I think, has come from first finding that center, finding that place of greater wholeness that allows me to be a vehicle of life. so that it's not just about me, it's not just about ego based. So the question of worthiness is not as um, is not really prominent, is not really present, because I'm experiencing myself more and more as a vehicle through which life unfolds. So it's not about my ego. Good morning, Rosalind. Uh, so Rosalind saying, good morning. What event happened to brace for? If dreams come true in parts, then one has time to react to an event unfolding. Well, and sometimes, they come in bigger or smaller parts, right? So it depends how big the part is to see how we can adjust. I mean, sometimes things happen that are really dramatic, and yes, they come in parts where we're graced to allow things to evolve, hopefully at the pace that we can receive them, right, Rosalind? So Elaine says, for me, fear is conditioned to fear what could happen. For me, fear is conditioned to fear what could happen with parents, family, friends, society. Um, Parents, friends, family, society, past lives, all conditioning. Yes. As we remember to trust who we really are in the light of the truth of love, we move more from the past and find peace in the now of the unknown as it becomes known. I agree with you. The conditioning, the fear is conditioned from our surroundings, even from our past experiences, as you said, past lives. And one of the things that I believe has enabled me to feel more at ease in receiving the possibility of this funding, and actually, finding somebody or a group or whatever that could bring the eco park vision into fruition, is that I have been letting go of my identities for a while now, letting go of my attachment to who I believe I am. And when we let go of our attachments to who we believe ourselves to be, and uh, and and allow ourselves to be more present to a process of discovery, what happens is that the notions of deserving and worthiness and even capability fall away, because again, as we become a vehicle for life, the expression of life living itself through us, then we're not as identified with our personalities, with our self-imposed limitations and conditioning. We have the ability to move beyond them and through them in very different ways as we become less of who we believed ourselves to be and more of who we are, which is expression of life moving through us, expression of maybe our higher selves, maybe of the divine, that we become a vehicle. And as becoming a vehicle leaves for more possibility, and we get to, like personality wise, we get to ride that adventure, to say, wow, this is just wonderfully miraculous. And we get to be more active creators as well, because we get to envision dreams which may be inspired by who knows what, right? And those dreams and visions, then as they come to fruition, we get to be the vehicle of their manifestation. So it's just really, really interesting to be embodying how, when we let go of who we believe ourselves to be, we can be more of who we are. That wonderful paradox. And as we let go of our ideas of who we believe ourselves to be, then we have the ability to rise into the requirements of our vision and the miracles that present themselves to us without resistance and rejecting them, because we don't consider ourselves worthy. So um, I I think that um, Elaine says, yes, I have practiced allowing emotions to move through the feeling center of my body with no attachments or judgments. As the emotions dissolve and the process is completed, I move on with what I have chosen to do in loving peace, no matter the outcome. Beautiful, beautiful. Elaine, you articulated that so perfectly. That is actually pretty much the foundation of the core connection work that I do with people, is allowing emotions, beliefs, feelings, responses to move through, to experience the energy of it, and through being present with no judgment or attachment, the dynamic is released. It's magical to see the power of observation with no judgment or attachment, and how through the most difficult experiences, this process of allowing opens up vistas of possibility and presence. And really, really, that's what it's all about, is to become more present, to become more connected to the flow of life, to be a deeper and greater expression of that flow and creativity. And yeah, so pretty awesome stuff. So we get to practice to ready ourselves for our dreams coming true by becoming less of what we believe ourselves to be, and more of a response and a presence in life. Response rather than reaction. That we get to be, as we are more and more present, we get to be more and more responsive to the gifts of life. Still practicing, says Pat. Pat, you're not alone. I think that that's what life is. We get to continue the unfoldment, and and continually expand into our highest possibility and potential. So once again, I'm going to say uh, good morning and good day to you. And thank you, thank you, thank you for your grace and generosity in being with me through these conversations each morning. You light up my world. You provide me with clarity and appreciation, and I'm so grateful. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. My my little partner in crime here, Maggie, and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Please check out the other awesome programming in Enlightened World Network's network of pages and channels. So until next time, so much love to you and deep, deep, deep appreciation.